Hello and welcome back, my stylish friends. We are learning today design number 9 of our 2024 blanket. This design looks complicated, but believe me, it's super easy to make and you will love every single step. Let's select the yarn color, which yarn color you want this design to be in the center of your square. So let's choose gray color yarn. And again, I'm using a Pound of Love in color white and gray. And also I'm using 7mm hook. As you see, we will be making first row in one color and second in different color. And that's how simple this design is. So let's start as usual with chain 3. And again, if you need instruction how to do the basic one color granny square stitch the way we are doing here right now, please visit the other video and I will post the link below. And with the magic of video, we are at the end of our row number 1. We will change yarn color as we normally do, and we learned this many times in the previous designs. So I will slip stitch, I will take my new color yarn, and I will slip stitch again, and I will pull both yarn down. Once I take the new color yarn, I will slip stitch and pull this all the way down as well. This connection is very secure, and now you can start your new row number 2. And again, how to make the stitches and how to make each cluster, all is explained in details in the other video. So normally when we change yarn color, we will carry the old color yarn around because we want to make different designs. With this row number 2, you do not need to do that. You can leave the previous color yarn because you need to work one color all around. So you're making your clusters with the new color yarn and leaving the old color yarn behind, and you pick that yarn again once you start your row number 3. So because this is the simple design and you're already familiar with that, I will speed up this video and I will meet you at the end of row number 2. And again, when we changing yarn color, we making sure that we will slip stitch to the first stitch in the old color yarn, and then we will change the yarn color. So let's see. We need to change the yarn color because each corner cluster has a different color yarn. So definitely right now we need to pick up that gray color yarn. Make sure that gray color yarn is on the top of the white color yarn. So we connect exactly the same way like before. And now I can go back to my chain space and start my new row. Now with this row number 3, that's what the design starts being shaped. So we want to be sure that the corner is in the gray color yarn. The middle portion, we want to extend that white color to the next row. So we will carry our gray color yarn around this row and keep your stitches around that yarn to make hidden on the wrong side of your project, and you will make one cluster of the white color yarn. Now each time you change the color, you want to be sure that the last loop will be made in the new color yarn. And once again, in the corner, I want to make a gray, so I will make 2 clusters separated by chain 2 to finish this corner. And again, before I finish my third double crochet stitch, I will change the yarn color to make sure that I have full double crochet stitch in the same color yarn, just like that. And my last loop, I will change, and as you see, I carry that loop to my new color yarn. So how are you doing with this design? Do you think this design is very simple or is challenging for you? If you have any question about this design or any other designs, please leave them in the comments and I will always answer your question and try to help you with your project. As you see, you have to just remember in this row to make each corner in the one color yarn and each side, which will be just one cluster, in different color yarn. And thank you for stopping by here today and working with me, and I hope you will learn something new. Okay, so I have one last white cluster, and now I will change my yarn color and I will need to finish my corner. So I need to add additional cluster of 3 double crochet stitches, and again, don't forget about chain 2 and then you slip stitch. Again, we want to pull now, carry that white color yarn to the next corner, because as you see, each corner has a different color yarn, and I'm doing this exactly the same way like I did in the previous rows. Always slip stitch and pull the yarn down, and now I can go in between my chain space and start my row number 4. So again, in this row, I'm making only white corners. That means I need to change yarn color. And then on the side of each square, I need to place 2 clusters. If I will be creating more rows than 4, each row I will add additional 1 cluster. So in row number 5, I will have 3 clusters in between corners. In row number 6, I will have 4 clusters. As I mentioned before, now we starting making 2 gray clusters, and that will elongate our design to the next row. And yes, I'm changing yarn color here every couple stitches, but this is regular changing yarn color. You always use the last loop with the new color yarn. That's why I believe it's very easy to make this design. And because there is not many steps to memorize with this pattern, I believe it's very fast to make. So you can make as many squares as you need for your blanket. And again, I'm attaching the size of the blankets because we are making 24 different designs, but you will need more than 24 squares. And even if you make them with reverse colors like I do, still it's only 48 squares. So you have to measure your squares and make sure that you have enough squares for your size blanket. So you can make the smallest one, which will be baby blanket, or the larger one, which will be king size blanket. Also, depending on the type of connection, you will need less or more squares. And I'm thinking to creating, before we start connecting our squares, I will create another video showing you how to calculate the number of squares you need for each blanket, because at the end of the year I will show you 2 different ways how you can connect your squares. One will be that the size of the square will be as is, and the other one will be that you actually adding extra stitches around your square.